everybody. Good morning. I am Amanda Hallmark. I am the trainer for the Your DEQ Online project, and I am so happy to have you here today with us. We are here for a very special 300J permit version of our DMR reporting in Your DEQ Online. So thank you so much for joining us today. We have a number of my DEQ colleagues here on the call who will be helping out as we get a chance to answer some of your questions. And I will be passing it over to Martina Fry shortly for the presentation portion. But before we do all that, I just want to cover a couple housekeeping items. So you may have just heard when you entered the room that we are recording this session. So we will be sharing this back out for your colleagues who may have not been able to join today, or for your own reference later. So don't feel like you have to frantically write everything down right now. We will have references and resources for you as you start to actually get into your DMRs. Also, we will be holding questions until the end for unmuting your mics. So we will actually hopefully get a chance to do that and let you all speak as well. But for now, you will all be on mute so that we can have a clean recording and Martina can get her presentation in. And then if you do think of something, however, during the presentation that you would like to ask, you can go to that little question mark icon where it says Q&A in Zoom. You feel free to type in your questions there, and our team will be monitoring those questions and trying to get them answered for you in a timely manner. And so that is all I have for you right now. And with that, I will pass it over to Martina.
All right, I am going to share my screen and start with the presentation. Please let me know, Amanda, if you can see that. Okay,
Yes.
great. Well, welcome. I'm glad that you guys could make it to this training, and we will be discussing DMR reporting in your DEQ Online. Your group with 300J permittees will start reporting with the DMR that's due in October. So this will be timely for filling out the DMR that's due within the next 60 days. So here's what we're covering today. First, I'll touch briefly on what your DEQ Online is. And then we'll jump into DMRs. We'll show you how to find DMRs in the system and the anatomy of a DMR, what it looks like, what the different parts are. And then we will go through a demonstration for completing a DMR from start to finish. Then I will discuss some of the online guidance that we have for your DEQ Online for DMRs. And then we'll discuss the timeline for what's next. And then we will save time for questions at the end. All right, so first, what is your DEQ Online? This is DEQ's service. It's based on the internet, and it allows you to access all sorts of information about your permit. You can submit applications and permit required reports. This is including DMRs. And then it allows you to view your invoices and pay them by a credit card or electronic check. And you can also access public records and communicate with DEQ staff through the system. So the first step for you is to register for an account. And I won't go into great detail here because we have excellent online resources and instructions for which account type you should select and the instructions for registering for one. The best way to get to your DEQ Online this is what I do is I just type your DEQ Online into my search bar and it brings me straight to the page that offers all this information for you. So don't feel like you have to scribble down the web addresses, just Google it. And then we also, in addition to registration resources, we have lots of guidance on how to use your DEQ Online for DMRs, for paying invoices, anything, submitting an application, all that's available on our website. All right, so let's jump into DMRs since that's a deadline that's coming up. When you log into your account, you'll be taken to a dashboard, and this has lots of pertinent information for you, but I want to highlight the button in the upper left-hand corner, this little double arrows here. That is the button that opens the main menu, and I find that the main menu is the best way to navigate your DEQ Online. It gives you all the choices that you need, and you won't just find this on the dashboard, but you'll find those two arrows on every screen in your DEQ Online. So you'll never get lost. You'll always be able to get to the main menu. All right, check my notes here. So with finding DMRs, an important consideration is that where you find them depends on what their status is. So what I mean by that for status is if you're looking for a DMR that you haven't started yet, you'll look for it in the menu option that's called Upcoming Obligations. If you have a DMR that you've started and you've saved, but you haven't submitted it yet, then you'll look for it in Pending Submittals. And if you've completed a DMR and submitted it already, then you'll find it in Submitted Submittals, which is kind of a mouthful. So let's go into a live demonstration here of your DEQ Online, and I will show you what that looks like. All right. So here we are in the dashboard, and here's that main menu button that I was telling you about. We've got upcoming obligations. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay, great. Upcoming obligations here on the left, pending submittals and submitted submittals, just as I discussed earlier. So let's show how to find that DMR that we were looking to fill out for the October 15th DMR due date deadline. So for demonstration purposes, I have lots of different DMRs in here. So let's first narrow down by submittal type. You may have more than one kind of permit as well. So if we're looking for the 300J permit, we could just type in 300 under submittal type and choose the 300J DMR option. And that will filter this list to only show 300J DMR types. So we have two options for searching. We can search by due date or reporting period. In this case, we know what our due date is and we know that it's coming up. So we can choose a relative time period here of next 60 days. And that will show us this DMR that's for July through September that's due in October. If we were looking for an older DMR, say we wanted to look at the previous period's DMR, we could search by reporting period, say last 6 months, and it will show us an unfinished DMR that was due in July, or an unstarted DMR that was due in July. And then we also have the option of clicking on this calendar button here, and it changes that relative search to being able to put in a specific date range. So if we wanted to look at the DMR that is for this period, and so, yeah, and it takes us to that the one that's due in October. So you can search many different ways to get to the same DMR that you're looking for, either reporting period or due date. All right, let's take a look at the search for pending submittals because it's a little different. So presumably pending submittals are the things that are started but not finished. This should be a pretty short list because you're probably not going to have a lot of DMRs or other reports that are just hanging out in incomplete status. So we have fewer search options here. And so if you were looking for something that you started relatively recently, like within the last month, you can just choose updated date of last 30 days, or you could put in a specific date range to find what you're looking for. And again, there are fewer search features here because it's probably going to be a short list, and what you're looking for will probably you'll be able to find it just by glancing down the list. And then taking a look at submitted submittals. This can be confounding for some folks because it defaults to the last 30 days. And so if you're looking for something that you submitted 6 months ago that you want to print out or modify, you'll want to change this to something that's a longer time frame. And so you'll find more things that you've submitted. You can also choose a submitted date range that you're looking for. So a few more options on the submitted submittal search. All right. Those are how to find DMRs, and I'm going to go back to the presentation and discuss the anatomy of the DMR now. So DMRs are organized by tabs along the top of the screen. So you'll see 5 different tabs: basic information, summary data, attachment, review, and submission. And we will go through and work through each one of these in the demonstration. It's important to note that fields that are required are outlined in red, so it'll be very obvious to you when you're looking through the screens what you need to fill in and what you can ignore. And then also as a reminder to ensure that you've got a complete DMR, the tabs will be that are incomplete will be indicated with a red exclamation point as shown here. So not only will each form field show you what's required, but it'll also be highlighted at the top of the page as well. So let's go back to Your DEQ Online, and we will search for the DMR that is due in October as our one that we're going to demonstrate. So we've searched for it, and to open the DMR itself, you'll click on the red pencil icon here. And I'm going to shrink this main menu back down so we have more space. So here's the basic information tab, and it's pretty basic. There's a field for comments, and this is optional. So if you have any notes that you want to include about anything that happened during the reporting period or any caveats to the data, you can add them here. And then the required information is the signatory name and the signatory phone number. And so you may have multiple people working on DMRs at your facility. And so the signatory person is the responsible official. And our online guidance will tell you who can be a responsible official and who can be a consultant. But we want on this basic information page, the person who will be signing and submitting the DMR, the responsible official. So I will be the responsible official for this example. And I will put in my information, and then the red exclamation point that was here before is no longer here because I've completed all of the required fields. So let's switch over to the summary data tab. This is where all of the data entry action happens. So let's get oriented a little bit. You'll see along the left-hand side, there are 3 tabs. So we've got C for cleaning, N for normal, and S for supply water. And this corresponds to the different sections that were on the paper DMR form that you've been using all along. So let's examine the cleaning operations form. We've got your facility name here, and it describes itself here, cleaning operations at the top. You'll see what the reporting period is on each screen. And then there are some notes here too that are germane to reporting. In this case, monitoring is only required for the highest production month of the quarter. And so that was also a note that was on the paper DMR. And sometimes there's also instructions like we'll see on the normal operations for reporting temperature in the 4th quarter. Temperature only applies in October. So if the highest production month is November or December, you'd use a no data code. We'll get there when we get to that example. All right, let me check my notes again. So let's start with this normal operations tab, and we'll do some data entry. There's 2 different ways to do it, but I want to show you the simple way. They're both easy, but simple way is to click on each substance that's listed here, and you'll see the required field is highlighted in red. And you can just put your value that you need to report into that field. And I'm going to hide that too so that we can see what exactly the form is asking for. In this case, it's the weekly maximum flow. So flow is required to be monitored weekly during normal operations. And so this would be the highest value recorded during the month of highest production. So I have some sample data here, and my flow is 0.02. And so once we enter the data, that red field becomes white, and the pink row showing that there's something to enter is no longer pink, and it's now shown as white. The nitrogen, or the ammonia, nitrogen, and the total phosphorus are optional monitoring that applied during the first year of the permit. They're still included here because they are part of the permit, but they are not required. So if you did not monitor for ammonia, nitrogen, you'll see that this is not a required field and you can just leave it blank. Looking at pH, this is required monitoring throughout the permit term. And so this is where you would enter your pH value. If you took just one pH sample during normal operations, then you would enter, you say you had 7.5, you would enter 7.5 standard units in both of these required fields so that the system can compare your sample value to the lower limit for pH and the upper limit for pH. If you had two different samples, say you had 7.0 and 8.0 or two or more, then you would report the lowest in the daily minimum field and then the highest in the daily maximum field. So that's what pH looks like. All right, so going on to settlable solids. I have data here. It's asking for monthly average. So if you only took one sample, then you would just report that sample value. For me, I had two samples here that averaged out to 0.09. And then moving on to the next one, total suspended solids. My data is 2 and 7. So that's monthly average and daily maximum. And so you calculate these statistics outside of your DEQ Online and then enter the summary value. So you enter your monthly average and your daily maximum. I want to show you what it looks like if you exceed the permit limit. So if my daily maximum was actually 15, then the system will highlight that in red to make sure that you didn't mistype or miss a decimal point or something like that. So it will show you a compliance check notice. It doesn't mean that it's incomplete. It just means, hey, double check to make sure that you meant to put that number in there. And so that's kind of nice to have because if you really meant 1.5, then that would make a big difference in reporting. But I'll put this back to 7. All right. And then we had one more temperature here, which I have as 55 degrees daily maximum. And that's compliant. I also want to demonstrate, like say you had settlable solids that your lab report says it was non-detect. What you would do there is you would put in the detection limit of say 0.01 and you'd change the operator here to less than. So that's how you would report a non-detect. If you had a value that was J flagged or below the quantitation limit but above the detection limit, then you would report the quantitation limit, say it's 0.02, and you change it to E for estimated. All of this is included in our detailed DMR guidance, how to report things that are non-detect or below the quantitation limit. So I just wanted to show you some examples of where you would actually find the less than and how to report that. Okay, so we have filled out all of this form, and now all of the pink rows have turned white, and the red exclamation point next to the tab is absent. So that means that we filled out everything we've needed to for this particular form. So let's look at cleaning operations. So say you didn't do cleaning operations during the highest production month of the quarter. You don't need to fill in each one of these rows. You can use this no discharge button up here in the upper right. So it's not to say that you had no discharge, but what this really means is you don't have data to report. So if you click on this button, it gives you a list of reasons that you can choose from. And in this case, if you did not perform cleaning operations during the time period, then you would choose conditional monitoring not required this period. And once you do that, then the rest of the form is grayed out and the red exclamation point next to the 003C is gone. So that's a quick way to fill out the form for when it just doesn't apply. Let's say that it does apply though, and I just want to go through again some more data entry because this will be the most important part of filling out the DMR each quarter. So let's put in some cleaning operations, soluble solids, total suspended solids, there's 15. Temperature, 50. pH is 8.0. All right. And so that is complete there. And then, as you know, the supply water monitoring for TSS is optional. It's only if you're going to use it to adjust for background levels of TSS. So there's no red exclamation point here. If you aren't going to use that method for TSS reporting, then you could just ignore that tab. You don't have to click no discharge or anything like that. All right, so the last thing I want to show you is the copy and paste method. So let's use cleaning operations, and I'm just going to clear out the data that we just entered. And fortunately, is not a huge list of parameters that need to be reported each quarter. So the copy and paste method may not save that much time, but I do want to show it to you regardless. So to use the copy and paste method, you'll click on this message here, click to download, and we will see document open up. It's not this, it's this one. And it basically gives you a little data entry form in Excel to type in those values and then copy and paste them. So in this case, we're not reporting anything for ammonia nitrogen because it's not required and we didn't do that monitoring. So we're going to just delete that. And the same for total phosphorus. For settlable solids, we had 0.02. For total suspended solids, we had 15 milligrams per liter. Temperature was 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And then pH was 8, and I only had one sample. So I will put it in both places. Sorry, I should probably have gone back there. Anything that has an asterisk or a set of asterisks here, you do not have to fill out. And everything that had a requested statistic here, you need to replace with your value. It's an important thing to note. So to copy and paste this information in, we're going to highlight the meat of the table here. So we're going to ignore the first row and ignore the first column and just copy the data that we entered and these asterisks. So I will copy that and then go over here, and this copy and paste here area is where we'll put it in. We'll paste. And it shows you a preview that transforms that data into a little table. And so you just want to make sure that it doesn't look really weird. And then you'll click the yellow import data button. And you have to say, yes, you mean it. And then all those pink rows have turned white. So let's double check to make sure that everything went in correctly. We had nothing to report for ammonia. And the same is true for phosphorus. Soluble solids, we had 0.02. Total suspended solids, 15. Temperature, 50 degrees. And pH was 8. If you want to make sure that you've got significant figures, you may want to add that in this part of the screen. All right, and then if you had data that was non-detect and you needed to put in that less than, you can't do that with the copy and paste. So you'd have to make sure to go back in and choose your operator, whatever one applies, and make sure that this is the detection limit or the quantitation limit. All right. And clear this out. So that was the copy and paste method. All of our summary data has now been entered. So I would recommend saving since we've done all this work. And now that we've saved this, I just want to show you that we will find it in pending submittals. So if we go back to the main menu and click on pending submittals, you'll see that this one that is at the top of the list here that we're working on now. You wouldn't find it in upcoming obligations anymore because we've already opened it and saved it. So if you need to stop what you're doing and then come back to it, go to pending submittals and you'll see it right there. So let's go back in and we'll switch over to the attachment tab. And because we're reporting summary statistics for this permit, we do need to, we require that you attach the daily data that, so say you had multiple samples in a month, you'll want to report those sample values in a way that kind of looks like this, where you have the date that you took the sample and the sample results. There's not any set format for how you report this, but we do have on our website and linked here from the attachment tab, an industrial data sheet for e-reporting that you can use as a template to report that daily data. And so if you want to use this, great. If you have your own, that's okay too. The one thing that we specify that is that it needs to be in spreadsheet format. So we cannot accept a PDF of a data sheet. Okay, so let's show how this works. There's two different ways to upload information. The first is to click this bar. It turns yellow when you need to click it, and you can navigate on your computer to the information that you're looking for. So here's the spreadsheet that I'm using for this demonstration, and I'm going to open it up, and it attaches it to the DMR record. But there's one more step that we have to do. We need to identify what exactly we're attaching. So if you click on the row anywhere here, it gives you a place to select the document type. And in this case, I'm attaching my data sheet for e-reporting. And it's not necessarily the template that we've provided, but any daily data spreadsheet that you're attaching, you can mark it as industrial data sheet for e-reporting. And so once you do that, then the required attachment for this spreadsheet is fulfilled. The red exclamation point goes away. And if you wanted to add any comments associated with the attachment, you can do so here. And if you wanted to add something else, if you had non-compliance that you were reporting, we have a non-compliance form here that's linked off of this page. You could, I'll show you the other method for attaching. You can attach that as well. So I'm just gonna have two of my windows open here, and I'm gonna do a drag and drop. Wait a second. And I'm gonna take this, oh man, this non-compliance reporting form that I had saved, and I'm gonna drag it over to this screen. And that's another way to attach it. So if you like to use the dialog box, you can do that. But just don't forget to identify the document type that you're attaching. So in this case, it's the non-compliance reporting form. And this means that at a glance, we can tell what you're attaching no matter what you've called the file. And the system can tell if you were attaching the attachments that are required by the system. All right, let's go to the review tab. So this is just a second or sort of a last place to look to make sure everything's complete before you get to the submission section. And so if we forgot to specify, for example, the signatory name, not only will we get this red exclamation point up here on the basic info tab, but the review tab will tell us that it's missing by showing us a red X instead of a green check mark. So there's multiple indicators for when you need to go back and enter your information. So once you have all the green check marks here and it shows you that mandatory attachments were included, that means that you're good to go over to the Submission tab. So the Submission tab is only accessible to the responsible official. So if you have somebody, say a consultant or a staff person filling out the DMR, this will not be accessible to them. What you would do in that case is the person filling out the DMR would save it and let the responsible official know that it's ready to be reviewed and submitted. And then they would be able to find it in the pending submittals section. So once the responsible official is ready to submit, we have a certification statement that they should read and agree to. So we can check the box there. And then a security question that you set when you establish your account. So that is something that should be written down or kept somewhere so that it's not forgotten, because every time you submit a submittal, they will ask you a security question. And then there's also a PIN number that gets set up. And so that's also information that needs to be saved. Then there's a couple more notices, and once we've entered what we needed to, the submit button turns from gray to blue, and that means we're ready to submit. And so I'm going to go ahead and do this and show you that once you've submitted the submittal, it takes you to a confirmation screen, tells you that it's successful. It allows you to print out a receipt if you want to. And it doesn't show that here, but it'll also send the responsible official an email saying that the submission was successful and it was, on this date at this time. So there's multiple places to get records of the submittal. And down at the bottom here, it shows you what attachments you've included. And then you can also print out a copy of the submittal form from here as a PDF or save it. All right, so since this one was successful, I just want to show you where we can find it here in submitted submittals. It's right here on the top because it's the most recent. And so, if you wanted to search for it, say the last 2 days, it's right here on top. So while we're here, if you have discovered that you've made an error or you've forgotten to attach some additional information or something needs to change about the submittal that's already complete, you come into here, submitted submittals, and you click on the orange eye icon. So there's a spot for you on the bottom here in this yellow box for you to request a revision. So that means something is amiss or you forgot something or you need to change something. And so what you do is you click that revision button and you would type in a reason, need to add attachment, for example. And so you'd click send request. And now it gives you a note that says, please go to pending submittals to view the record. So it takes your completed submittal, makes a copy of it, and adds it to your pending submittals list. So it's now in that in-between stage of like partially entered, but not completed yet. So if we want to make some changes to the submittal, we can then just fill it out like normal. The nice thing is that it does save the information that you've already put in. So if you realize that your total suspended spot solids was actually, 13 instead, you can just go in here and change whatever you need to change. And, if you want to switch out an attachment, you can delete out, say, remove this one and add a different one, or just, whatever you need to do. It's the same functionality as just filling out the DMR in the first place. So then you'd get over to the submission tab and do that process again. And submit your changes essentially. And now we have another successful submission, and you'll find it again in submitted submittals. So I think I've covered all of that. There's one more piece that I want to mention. Let's look in the next 6 months. We have put together guides for each of these, each DMR type. So this Get Information button here, you'll find it linked off of, any tab from the DMR, the submittal information. If you click on that, it opens up a PDF. And in this case, here it is. And it walks you through exactly how to fill out your DMR. And it's very specific to the 300J. So, for example, if we've provided you the basic number of monitoring locations, and we base that on what you've been reporting on your paper DMRs. But if you have additional monitoring or locations or outfalls that we did not include in your setup, we instruct you to reach out to the YDO help desk, and we'll be able to add in whatever you need for your reporting. And then all the details that I talked about with completing the summary data form, you'll find that here, what's required versus what's optional, which NODI codes you should use. And NODI means no data indicator codes. And let's see, no discharge, or say something doesn't apply to you, how to use the attachment tab, and then the review and submission tabs, and how to make revisions. So that is at your fingertips every time you are filling out a DMR. And so that's just one resource that you can use if you get stuck. All right, so let's go back to the presentation. I know that was a bit of a whirlwind, so I just want to emphasize that this is not the one and only time that we'll be available to help you or to instruct you on how to do this. We do have a whole page that will link you to guidance. What you're looking for on the how to use your DEQ Online is this wastewater permits in your DEQ Online. That'll get you to information about how to, submit applications, submit various reports. Our DMR guidance will be there too. And so, lots of resources for you there. And then I mentioned a user's guide with detailed instructions for completing DMRs. That is in production right now. It will be posted very shortly. And it's got all soup to nuts information about finding DMRs, completing them, how to, report different types of data. We're recording these sessions, so they'll be available for you after the fact. If you have new staff coming on, I encourage them to watch the videos so they can understand the process. They'll be available in perpetuity going forward. And then as we work through this with folks, we will put together frequently asked questions, and we will be updating our guidance to address those frequently asked questions. It's going to be a living document, and it's going to be based on our experience and your experience as well. And then finally, at any time, you can reach out to the Your DEQ Online help desk. The address is just Your DEQ Online at deq.oregon.gov. And we have folks there who triage your questions. So if you put DMR in the subject line, that will get to us and our group of experts. And we usually respond the same day or next day. All right, so what's next? So we have this webinar today that was especially for the 300J permit. We also have another one coming up on September 25th. That's more general for the rest of the general permits, but contains the same information. So if you had folks that missed this one, they can either watch the recording or they can join in on that one. And then as we get closer to the October 15th due date, I will be available for office hours on October 8th and October 14th. So you can just pop into those and ask questions if you need to. And then we've got the deadline for the first DMR that's due in your DEQ Online. So that's October 15th. And like I said, we'll be there to help you in office hours or with the help desk going forward. And then afterward, if you successfully do this one, but then you come upon a problem or something special for the next quarterly DMR or any DMRs going forward, even though we won't have these webinars, we will be available for you through the help desk. All right. So that is my presentation. I will stop there for questions.
Yeah, thanks, Martina. And I'd like to note too that on those external web pages that Martina was showing you, where you can find all the resources, there's also links there to reach the help desk. So you don't have to remember what that email is. You can just go to our website and click that link, and you can get a form that gets filled out and sent into them, and we'll triage to the appropriate people from there. So we do have one question in the Q&A that I'd like to ask first to anyone on our DEQ team here. And then David, I do see your hand and we'll get you off of mute after that. So Connor asks, for required attachments, are pH, SS, and TSS lab reports required to be attached for each DMR submission?
I'm going to maybe defer to Randy, Mark, or Jennifer on that one.
Oh, this is Randy. I would say no. The lab reports are not required.
Okay. Thank you for that. Let's see here. So David is next, and you should be able to come off of mute now, David.
Yeah, I just when I was looking at this reporting, is this something that we take? Because right now we do weekly reporting, and it looks like we just concentrated into 1 month, and take the 4 weeks, and then it's going to be an average. Is that how you want us to do that? Just the average of the monthly instead of each week?
Well, it depends on what statistic we're asking for. So it may be an average for like TSS or suspended solids.
Yeah.
But in the case of temperature or flow, I think it's the maximum that we're looking for.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. But I just wondered because right now we're just doing the weekly on each line, and now it looks like we're just combining them to an average for the month.
Yep. So basically reporting one or two numbers per month
Okay.
if you're asking for different statistics. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. That's what I was wondering.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. All right. Dan, yep, you're good.
Perfect. So just a clarification on David's question there. So for something like total suspended solids, we would normally do our daily values. So if we're averaging that, there's a violation for a daily value. So are we not doing the high and low for the suspended solids? We're just doing the average for the month. And
Yep.
then we'll attach that data in that Excel sheet. So if there is a daily violation, that's where it'll be.
Yeah, I think that there's only a limit for the monthly average. So if you have a value over the limit, Randy, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
No, I'm not certain if there's a daily max value. I have to pull the permit up and look.
Okay. Yeah, I think based on my knowledge that it's a monthly average limit. And so you would report your daily values, but in the attachment, but you would just report that monthly average, which would be compliant with the monthly average limit.
Does that
Let
help,
me
Dan?
It did. I thought the daily value max was 10 milligrams
let me check.
for TSS for our permit.
For normal operations?
Yes, I got for TSS for normal is 10 and for daily cleaning is 15 is what I
Okay.
have in my permit. So that's why I was concerned. Like how would you kind of deduce that if it was a failure? I think you'd want that on that form, but maybe I have incorrect information.
No, you're right. So here it is. And this form asks for the monthly average. So you would provide that monthly average, but it also asks for the maximum. So if you had a monthly average that was compliant at 3, but then one of your values was higher than the 10 milligrams per liter daily average, say it was 12, you would enter it there and it would show you that it's a violation.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that. It was the suspended solids. It just has a monthly average. No. All right.
All right. Thanks. Next up is Mike. And you should be good to talk. Mike, are you still there? We can't hear you. Okay. So Mike, we can't hear you. Oh, you just logged off. So technical issues. Yeah, so we can always reach back out to Mike and make sure he gets what question he had answered. Is there anybody else? I don't have any other hands up right now, but feel free to raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question. All right. Mohammed. You should be okay, okay to unmute. Mohammed, do you have a question? Okay, I am going to, more technical.
Yeah,
There you are. Okay, you're good now.
okay. Yeah, we are human beings. Sometimes we do mistakes, and the same thing happened to hazard staffs or managers. My question is whether anyone at the headquarters at ODFW can visit the submitted DMRs, and if there are any errors, we can make that corrections. Is there any provision or way that one person should be given the opportunity to view all the submitted DMRs?
I can answer that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we will be providing summaries of the DMR data that's submitted to the inspectors. And if there's anything that is marked as a violation or that appears to be a data entry error, that information will be conveyed to them. And DEQ has the option, just like you can take the DMR back using that revision button. We can also process a send back where we will send back a DMR with a message saying, hey, I think you missed a decimal point, or the information that you entered doesn't match your attachment. Can you take a look? And so that'll go back to you. You'll get an email that indicates that it needs to be fixed, and you'll see what exactly the message is that we've provided. And so that'll be in your pending submittals again, and you can just go in and fix anything that needs to be fixed.
And are you going to send that message to the HSRE manager or the HSRE coordinators or Latif?
It would be the responsible official, so the person who signed and submitted it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Tyler, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep, there you are.
Okay. My question was about the supply water. If we're entering averages, do we take that off of our average, or does the system automatically do that if we enter something into the supply water parameter?
The system won't automatically do it. So you would want to do the calculations the same way you do on the paper DMR. You would just report your supply water suspended solids so that we'd have that information when we're reviewing the DMR.
I think currently we only can do, is there no way to subtract settleable solids off?
We don't look at settlement for our supply.
What if you're in violation?
I guess sometimes.
Will there be any way, like, say, will there be any way to subtract, or is this something, a thought, subtract settleable solids from your supply water? Like, say your water's coming in with high settleable solids.
What is the supply water now? It's just for suspended solids, right? Or total
Yeah.
suspended solids. That may come up in another permit iteration, but I don't think that that's included in this permit term or this permit.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Tyler. David, go ahead.
Yeah, this is kind of, I don't know if it's along the same line, but sometimes we have high water events. And so we have, to be able to help with the permit in the past, we could do upset reports. And so it's like sometimes, we get a big rain event, we get turbidity going in our ponds, and your pond's going to fail because the water is just really turbid. And is that something that you would put into the other, I can't remember what it was, but what was the reporting form? The violation form or something like that, and then attach it, because it's like sometimes these events are way out of our control. And so I don't know if there's any way we can put this into the permit that we've had a upset report that's going to make us be a violation on our report. And it's like,
that is exactly how you would do it. So you'd report your values because they are what they are. And then the non-compliance reporting form provides lots of places for you to explain what the situation was, to document rainfall and that kind of thing, and to explain, well, why the violations occurred. And I will leave space here for Randy, Jennifer, or Mark, or Alyssa to provide more information if they have some.
okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't have any other hands up right now. We still have time if you think of something and you'd like to raise your hand, but I would like to echo what Martina just said and open it up if there's anything else from our DEQ team that you'd like to share here. Okay, so we got 3 more hands, and we will start with Dan.
Okay, sometimes we see our minimum detection limit vary within the month. That's from the the place sampling. They'll give us limits ranging somewhere from 0.4 to 0.8. How would we capture that in that form?
Oh, that's a good question. So
And
within
this
the
is
same.
this is for suspended. I'm sorry, it's for suspended solids within the same month time frame. We're seeing of late, over the last few quarters, we're seeing a variation in that minimal detectional limit that the sampling company is sending back to us. And I think it's based on how much water they have to sample. And so it can range, and didn't know how you want us to capture that.
I don't know if the compliance folks have an answer to that one. Let me just take a quick look.
I hadn't thought of that one before. Where you've got varying detection limits. I don't know whether you average them or take the lowest.
So the statistic for suspended solids is monthly average. And we have instructions on how to do that in the user's guide, but I'm not well versed. So Amanda, is there a way to respond back to attendees with a written response?
Yeah, we'll capture that and we'll bring a response back to you after we look at it internally.
Good question.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, so then next up, I'm going to go ahead and mute Dan again, and we're going to. Sorry about that. We're gonna my mouse flipped on me there. Mohammed, go ahead.
Yeah. How long would you keep this training version on DEQ site so that some of our staff couldn't attend today so that they can follow up on the next days or for a longer time?
We don't have any plans to take down the recording as soon as we put it up, so it should be there for a very long time.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, and Tyler, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. My question was kind of off of what Dave brought up. So how do we record an upset event now? Because typically we have like a time frame, right, before we take our samples that we need to report an upset.
I want to defer to Randy, Jennifer, or the others again.
Are you asking how do we do it now or
What?
within YDO?
Yeah, I know how we do it now, but yeah, now that we have a new system, like how does that upset event reporting look?
I thought that's what Martina just went over. You write it up on the like the non-compliance form and then attach that.
So that can
And-
be after the fact. I mean, I thought normally we have was like 24 hours.
Oh, okay. So you can still call us or email us.
Okay.
The 24-hour, yeah, the 24-hour notice requirements, that's all by voicemail or email.
Okay. And then the reporting would be in the non-compliance section when you're okay.
Yes, when you do your write-up, then you submit that with your DMR in YDO.
Okay. I didn't know if there's like if you need to do an attachment with the upset or letter or anything like that.
Well, you can always add an extra letter for explanation, but
Okay.
you can just do it in the non-compliance form.
Okay.
I mean, that doesn't put you automatically out of compliance if you submit that form. It just lets us know the information that we need to know.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, great. So we have just over a minute left, and I want to give Mike a chance to ask his question. So I'm going to allow you to unmute Mike. All right, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I had a quick question. We had one of the people that were doing our water samples that if it was below 2 milligrams per liter, they'd just put a less than 2 milligrams per liter. Is that usable or would that be uncompliant if we put it in there?
Are you saying that that's what the lab reported back?
Yes.
No, that would be, oh, are you saying because the detection level is higher than the limit?
No, it's less than 2 milligrams per liter and we're allowed up to 15.
Oh, okay. No, that would be fine. So if they're as long as you include their detection limit and then put the less than, then that would be acceptable.
Okay. That's all I had.
Okay, great. And Mohammed, you put your hand back up. Do you have another question?
Cloud falls 5, 6, 7, 8, sometimes 10. So you have entered, I developed the form to report, for example, TSS only one cell maximum. So what is this maximum should be? Out of 5 outfalls, what is maximum there? Or every outfalls we have to report?
It would be reporting separately for every outfall.
Have you provided that provision?
Well, we've tried. So if we noticed on your paper DMR forms that you had multiple outfalls, we've set that up. But if for some reason you only see one and you need 4, please reach out to us by the help desk email and we'll make sure that we add in as much as you need for as many outfalls as you have.
Okay, that means our HSRE managers can contact you to modify their DMR so that their all outfalls are reported.
That's right. And the DMRs are available for you now. So if you log in there, you'll see them in the upcoming obligations. So check them before you need to fill them out just to make sure they have what you need.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, thank you. So we are at time, and I want to be thoughtful of everybody's time. So feel free to hop off if you need to. Tyler, I do see your hands up, and I don't know if it was lingering from before or if you have another question. So we can stay on if you do have another question. But anyone who needs to go, please feel free to go as well.
No, my question answered. I don't know. It didn't let me lower my hand, I guess.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, no problem. I just wanted to make sure that you had what you needed for now. No problem at all. All right, so we will post the recording and get all of the awesome documentation that Martina showed for your reference as you start working on these DMRs. We'll get all that posted for you, and thank you again for attending. I hope everyone has an awesome afternoon.